Question for you. What's the one thing your best customers think about all day long? Think on it for a second. If you answered themselves, you're right. A study from way back in 1997 showed that when we talk in conversation, so when we're talking to other people, 78% of what we say is about ourselves. That's a crazy high percentage. That's wild. So that's a problem though, because your business is not your customer. Those are separate entities. So there's an alignment problem there. You're trying to sell something to them, but they're thinking about themselves. And people do not like to change what they're thinking about. We don't like stopping thinking about one thing and starting thinking about another. So they land on your site or they see you on social media. They're thinking about themselves. You're saying, hey, here's my offer, here's my service, here's my business. And they're like, I don't want to think about that right now. I'm already busy thinking about myself. So what are you supposed to do? One really good solution for this is an identity type quiz. What does that mean? What is an identity type quiz? Well, if you think about it, your customers probably fall into different identities. These are often called ideal customer profiles, ideal customer avatars, things like that. They're the different personas that you work with. To make this a little more concrete, let's take an example. Let's say you're an entrepreneur coach, you work with businesses that are just starting out, and there's different types of people that you work with who are starting businesses. Maybe there's like the super productivity junkie, like the person that's super, super good and just on top of everything. Maybe you have the creativity person who's just got a billion ideas. And then you have like the multi-passionate. So the person that just has a lot of different interests and varied things that they like to do and focus on. Okay, so those are your different types of people that you work with. And most likely, this is usually the case, you probably have different products or offers or services for each of those personas. So maybe for the productivity person, they might struggle with creativity though. So maybe they have really good ability to execute on stuff, but they just need new ideas. They need to figure out how to get past roadblocks. So you have a product for that. And then for the creativity person, maybe their struggle is the opposite. They struggle to actually execute and get stuff done. So you have a product for that. Okay, so you have your personas, your outcomes, your identity types, whatever you want to call them, and then you have products for each of them. All right, so then from there, you just need to figure out which persona is somebody, right? So think about how you would figure this out in real life. Like, what kind of questions do you need to ask them to figure out, are you the super productive person who struggles to be creative? Or are you the creative person who struggles to be productive? Or are you the third option, the multi-passionate? Those are the questions of your quiz. Typically, you have like 5 to 7 of those. Now, our AI is really good at writing those questions because, for a long story short, the large language models like ChatGPT are based on building questions based off of content. So our AI is super, super good at that. And also, we have our own secret sauce in there. So it's pretty great. Try that out. But you have your questions, you have your outcomes. Then the title of your quiz is simply just going to be which identity type are you, or what type of blank are you? And in that blank, you just put the types of customers that you work with. So, what type of entrepreneur are you? What type of dieter are you if you're a health coach? What type of mental health aficionado are you if you help people with their mental health? So those are the components that make up an identity type quiz. And now when somebody's browsing around and they find you online, and they're already obsessed thinking about themselves, they're spending all their time thinking about themselves, now you have something that actually aligns with that. So they see your quiz and they say, oh, I do want to find out my identity type because that's aligned with what I'm already thinking about. Then what you do is you gradually guide them through that quiz as they're answering the questions, and then you tell them their identity type. Then you introduce your product or your service or your offer that's in alignment with their identity type. And you slowly shift their mind so that they can start thinking about your business and your offer and your service and shift off of just thinking about themselves. Now, it's still aligned to them, right? Because your product or your service is, of course, built for them. So it still aligns in that way. But it is a slight shift in thinking because they can't just be thinking about themselves. They have to be thinking about their business and problems that they're trying to solve. But you've slowly shifted the narrative. And that's what a quiz can do. It can really, really simply and effectively and in a way that feels very relational slowly shift people from just thinking about their own internal thoughts about themselves over to the products or services or offers that you might have. Now, all of the stuff that I just talked about is baked into our AI quiz maker. We spent thousands of hours building it, and it's pretty impressive in my own opinion. We've been doing quizzes for 10, 11 years now, and the AI quiz maker does a really good job of just getting a first draft going of a quiz, of an identity type quiz. It figures out that title, it figures out the questions, it'll read your site and figure out the products and offers to introduce, when to introduce them, how to introduce them, all that kind of stuff. And it gives you a really good first draft to work off of so that you can then go in, add your creativity, your spin, your flair, so that the quiz is super unique. I wouldn't recommend just going with the AI because you want to put a little bit of your own spin on it, your own touch on it afterwards. But it does a really good job of just getting past that first roadblock of like, how do I get started building a quiz? Because it can be a lot. I mean, what I just went through, those 3 components, sounds really easy, but then when you sit down to write out the personas and the questions and all that stuff, it ends up being a lot. So that's where the AI is really great. Try it out, tryinteract.com/AI. Totally free. You can create a quiz for free. You can sign up for free, and start a subscription to launch that quiz. Check it out. That's how you do an identity type quiz to convert people from thinking about themselves to thinking about your business and then eventually becoming buyers from you.